Are we ready? Well, hello everyone. Nice to see you a little bit later on a Monday than usual, but it's Monday. And Monday's not my favorite day, but it is true crime day around here. We just finished the long hours of the trial, the murder trial. And that's going well, that's going. You'll go have to watch the recap if you want to know. If you weren't already there, I'll just tease you with that. Well, today I've got three cases for you that they're just popping up a little bit. Not anything really big, but it'll fill our time here, keep you up to date. I don't want to put it on the back burner because one of them, the first one that I'd like to talk to you about, is let me get up here, and we're going to talk about this gentleman, not from the thumbnail, but the one in the middle there. This is Larry Millette, as you will remember, and his attorney, Bonita Martinez. Um, Larry was up on a pretrial hearing to see if he should face criminal charges in court for the murder of Maya Millette, his wife. Now, this case, if you may remember, or if not, I'll refresh you a little bit. Maya went missing on January 7th of 2021. No body. This is murder charges without a body. Not only is this murder charges without a body, there's murder charges without any evidence of the death. No blood, no knife, no weapon, nothing, just like gone. Okay. Well, we had a 2 week long, a very long pre-trial hearing with a lot of evidence coming through. Prosecution was relentless in presenting a case where Larry Millette was extremely obsessed with his wife's previous contact with someone from work that looked like it was an affair through an Instagram account. It seemed to have settled down. They stayed friends. She reported him as being quite controlling. She was complaining to her family and friends and anyone who would listen. She made recordings that were played. Um, you'll remember perhaps that Larry Millette is the one who spent $1,000 plus getting someone to make spells for him through the internet to make his wife either fall in love with him again or, suspiciously enough, get so sick she couldn't leave or cause some harm to her, so he had to take care of her. The evidence during the pretrial was pretty damning that way. All of her siblings and her father, Maya's siblings and fathers, came forward and testified about the controlling nature of Larry and how weird he acted the day that she disappeared. Now, Larry and his attorney had consented to the court that Maya just left for the Philippines because she was embarrassed about her affair. She wanted to be done with Larry, so she left. 3 children, 2 beautiful daughters, and a young son, only 4 years old at the time. And that is not how her family portrays her. That is not how her friends and family portray her at all, or anyone that knew her. She was a doted mother. She was very concerned for her children. To leave for the Philippines like that with no word didn't seem like something she'd do. But what makes this unique is that there is absolutely no body, no murder weapon, no evidence of a crime in the home except for that she was missing. Now, his behavior in the home was came through in the pretrial hearing definitely did him a lot of damage. The way he just kept saying she was locked in the room and the door was locked, and nobody was really, the brother went there and being polite, he didn't like ask him to open the door or anything. But one of the daughters said to the brother, mom's been in there for like 11 hours and she didn't even come out to feed us, quote unquote. That kind of raised alarm bells with the brother, and he left. I mean, he questioned him a little bit, but he didn't push. It seems to be there was a lot of cultural politeness here in regards to marriage and a hierarchy and things like that. They know the family well. They know Larry well. They've been married a while, okay? And Maya had left him months before and stayed with the brother and the sister-in-law, and both of them testified to Larry's behavior while she was not in the house. How he badgered her on the phone, needed to know everywhere she was, who she spoke to, that it was constant and relentless, and that when he couldn't talk to Maya, he spoke to both the sister-in-law and the brother every day to find out what she was doing and what he could do to correct his marriage. It seemed a bit controlling and obsessive. This sounded like a desperate man. That is what the prosecution portrayed. In the defense, did not really have a lot to come back with, except for the affair, which was quite damning. However, the way they ended it and remained respectful, and the conversations that were in the Instagram, it didn't really go over as well in the courtroom as you might think. I mean, usually an affair hits a courtroom in a murder with a couple, a married couple, like a bomb. Like, oh, whoa, like, maybe she just ran off. Like, maybe she's with him. Well, she's not with him. The police have investigated him. He's still married. He's had a young child. He's still in his relationship. No Maya around. Okay. They had ended it and moved on. What it was a commiserating with two miserable people in controlling situations, unhappy, that were just commiserating together. There wasn't really much to it. It didn't go off like the firecracker that they thought. The headlines were great. I'll give that to the media. But the testimony, not so much. you know, I have to say, the testimony was absolutely not so much on that case. I think in this case, the prosecution had a lot to work with as far as everyone cooperating around them, the family and everyone. They have not been able to locate her. The prosecution's presented phone calls, text records that showed the obsession, about how they used then the affair that the defense decided to put forward as the reason she left. They used Larry's obsession with the affair, twisted it back on them, and used his obsession about it and everything he said to everybody about it against him. What they didn't present, though, was any physical evidence of a slaying. No body, no murder weapon, no blood evidence, no evidence of a crime at all. And yet, Larry Millette will face murder charges in court on September 14th of 2023. Okay, the judge did go forward. Bowles was the prosecutor, okay? And when Bowles went forward in his closing statement, one thing that he said that kind of stuck with me, because this was People versus Manson in 77. Okay. And this kind of stuck out with me. And they said, the fact that a murderer may successfully dispose of the body of the victim does not entitle him to avoid prosecution. This is one form of success for which society has no reward. Pro- Production of the body is not a condition precedent to the prosecution for murder. Period. I loved it. And if any of you know the history of my channel and when I did true crime, you'll remember how Jay from True Serial and I went back and forth about this all the time. And he would say, if there's nobody, it's not a good case. And I would say, no, that's not always true. And I saw this in writing, and the first thing I wanted to do is put it out there on YouTube, and I hope Jay sees it. If not, I'm going to message it to him later because it was very well said, and it is from an actual precedented case. Everybody knows the Manson murders, okay? Yep. The fact that Maya's body was never found is actually just circumstantial evidence that death was caused by criminal means because it is highly unlikely that a person suffering a natural death would dispose of her own body. Yeah. How about that? Makes sense to me. It's not like she walked off anywhere. The point being that the prosecution laid out that there is no evidence of life either. No history in the banks from January 7th, the night she disappeared. Nothing. She was scheduled to celebrate her daughter's birthday with a big hiking trip and tour that they love to do as a big family. That's why they all started looking for her on the 8th. That's how the father, the brother, the sister all got involved. Maya stopped returning calls suddenly on the 7th. Very unusual for her. They presented tons of telephone records to show that Maya was very active on 2 Instagram accounts and Facebook and messaging people and her friends. She was very social. And it stopped dead at a certain time and it did not get resurrected. And that was the biggest circumstantial evidence that a crime had been committed because it did not look as if Maya had done that to herself. She had talked to her daughter already in regards to perhaps a divorce, to where she would do her best to keep the children all together and make a happy home, and her daughter was for it. Maya was making plans. Maya had scheduled an appointment with a divorce attorney prior to her disappearance. We don't know if Larry found out about that or not. And unfortunately, in the pretrial, it came out that the clerk there that spoke with her and gave her all the information about how to come forward understood how scared she was, understood she didn't want to come out, said it was the best thing for her to schedule right away. And she feels terrible guilt for mailing questionnaires to her and that she didn't do enough. I can only imagine that anyone involved with Maya at the time that knew what was going on actually feels some guilt that they didn't know it would go this far. Yeah. And we don't know if he's absolutely guilty because he hasn't faced trial yet. But that was pre-trial hearing where they present all the evidence as to why he should come to trial was pretty damning. And the judge just hand down, he said, that's it. He's going to face it. And let me just quote for the judge. Okay, so the hmm, I'm trying to find the quote from the judge because he was like, you know, definitely not going with the fact that just because there wasn't a body. And he made a very interesting quote here. During those 2 weeks, they talked about the crumbling marriage, the 2 weeks of the pre-trial hearing. All the family members tested. They tested on prior occasions that Maya could not be located, that Larry tended to panic. He would call everyone if he didn't know exactly where she was. Okay. Um, about the fact that he had spent over $1,154 on magic spells. Okay. After she disappeared, family members did testify that Larry did not participate in any searches to look for her body or help spread the word for her of that she had disappeared. He remained inactive in regards to finding his wife. He also, all of a sudden, stopped dealing with everyone on the internet that he was talking to about those magic spells. Judge Mooring was the judge in this church. And what he said when he put forward the decision that Larry Millette will go forward with his murder charges in September 14th, he said in his ruling There is a marked contrast in a defendant's actions before Miss Millette's disappearance and afterward, and that provides a strong suspicion of his guilt. Therefore, there is enough here for Larry Millette to face murder charges. There is no evidence of a body, alive or dead. They actually turned that too, because the defense actually tried to say, well, she probably just disappeared. The prosecutor brought in evidence to that to take away from defense attorney Martinez's claim that Maya just left. She was a selfish woman who was having an affair. She only thought of herself as she left her children and Larry behind, and she's off in the Philippines. And she doesn't want to talk to her family because it's a disgrace. This was it. And then the prosecution brings forth text messages that say that Maya and Larry had spoke, and Maya had consistently said to him that she wanted to leave the marriage and she was only there for the kids because she would never leave her children. Repeatedly, these texts back and forth. That's not the mind of a woman who is ready to walk away without her children. Okay. Well, anyway, that's our update if you don't have questions on Larry Millette, because I also just, as always, I do like to also show you who our victim is. This is actually Larry Millette and Bonita Martinez, his defense attorney. And this is Maya Millette, missing since January 7th of 2021, presumed deceased because she has not been with her lovely children since that day, her family, or have any contact with anyone. Not a trace, not a text, not a call, not activity in a bank, not secret funds being discovered, nothing. Not even run away with a boyfriend. Boyfriend still with his wife and child. Maya nowhere to be seen. So let me just check the chat for questions before I go on to number 2. Hello, Mrs. Cassandra. Hi, Jean. Grace, who came in. Hey, Wreckers. Good to see you too. Aunt Jer, you come back for more. Shill, nice to see you too. Anybody I missed, I'm sorry. Crazy Cat, it's nice to see you. I saw you come in with all the emojis in the beginning, but you weren't here when I first opened up. There you go. All right, so let's see. Are you going to cover the latest developments in the Tier Nichols case? Nope. That's not one on my radar. I can tell you the ones that I am covering, and that is Marilyn Manson, Danny Masterson, Sarah Boone, what is it? Courtney Clenny and Letitia Stosh, along with Larry Millette, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, and also the Murdaugh trial. Yeah, the reason I'm not touching Tyra Nichols is going to be hot. It's like very controversial. It's going to be so time consuming, and I do kind of figure it's going to be all over the place. Oh, and the other one I'm covering, because it intrigues me with the financial shenanigans that are going on, and that there's no law to cover what happened. I mean, that fascinates me right there, how we're going to be able to handle this. But I am covering Samuel Bankman-Fried and FTX bankruptcy, and also the international case in regards to our government here in the United States trying to get him on fraud to the customers and things like that. It's fascinating me the way they're going to have to go round and round to do this. We got multiple countries involved. We have just a subsidiary claiming bankruptcy in the United States of an international company. The international company is defaulted, but however, it's rumored that the United States company is actually solvent. So, wow, really, really messed up. So I am covering that. And thank you for the reminder, Virillion, because that's a hot one. And I am intrigued by that. And I almost forgot it, so thanks. Hey, Tony, thanks for joining us. Okay. But sorry if I disappoint you, and sure, but there will be lots of stuff going on about it. I'm sure it's going to get covered very, very well. Okay. Okay. Yes, that's true. Always createful. You don't dispose of your own body. Somebody would have disposed of it for you. And that person would have came forward. if there wasn't any shenanigans going on, right? They made a very good point. And I have to say, legally, I loved seeing it in writing. I loved seeing someone pull the precedent on 1977 for People versus Manson about the body not being there, and yet everyone in regards to that case got charged with murder. And it was lovely to see. It was. It was a very profound statement from the judge. It was like, your behavior before and after definitely is indicating that something's going on here. And he said it so eloquently. And yeah, I don't mean to be like sound so cheerful about it, but I was actually pleased to see it in writing. Yep. We'll just go through. Hey, Grace, if I didn't say hi there. And you're still working, crazy cat, in 1 a.m.? Are you in the night shift, I guess? Again, thanks for the reminder, Verillion, keeping me in line. Thank you. You know what? If you mean, Crazy Kid, I understand that Samuel may have a price on his head. A lot of people are angry with him, including his investors, everybody he ever worked with. Also, the people he kind of represented in crypto and everything all over the world. He's not very popular right now. Yeah. He's on house arrest at his parents'. Yeah. Mm. And yes, Grace Case, I am still following Shankila Robinson, but no, they have not even brought anybody from the United States to Mexico to face that yet, even though they said they were going to issue an arrest warrant and extradition would start. There were rumors of that, and I've yet to see that come across, but I'm going to be following up. Yes, that's another one I'm on. That is a terrible case. I feel so bad for that family. They have been actually contacting reporters regularly. There was some here on the East Coast. There was some more, opinion and op-eds done about it because nothing's really moving, and we need to get people involved in it. They know who was there. They have video. Like, we need to know. The family is saying they still don't know what happened, and it's not fair. It's not fair. Mm. Oh, I'm glad you're not disappointed in Anchor. I like to cover ones that people want to hear. But for me to put in all the time, I need that hook. I need a legal hook or something fascinating about it besides the normal stuff to get to me. With the Millette case, it was definitely that he was hiring people to put spells on her and then she disappeared and we had no body. And that's always intriguing to me because when I followed the Morphew case, Barry Morphew, and Suzanne Morphew is still missing. We have not found her body since Mother's Day in what, 2020? Like, it's many years now. And was going to celebrate with the daughters the next day. No, her body is gone too. Nothing. But that case totally dismissed right now, and they haven't refiled on him. But the fact that the body was missing also was fascinating to me, and there was no evidence of a crime being committed in the home, just a disappearance, just a disappearance. So there we go. And they don't have any evidence of life on her either. Oh, and with that one, there was also an affair. Okay, let me see. Oh, yes, Mrs. Cassandra, I do believe at the very end of March, we're going to start with Masterson again. The trial comes back. Yes. They were trying to get it dismissed, but they couldn't. Okay. Oh. Mm. I don't know, Mrs. Cassandra, if they've even mentioned him because there's a remake, right? I haven't seen any of it. I'd be curious if anybody did. I doubt they would since they booted him, from the ranch and all from the bad publicity. The kind of trial he's up for, even though he's not guilty, people just don't really want to be associated with anything like that. Go to bad. You never know how it's going to go. Public relations wise, it might be a problem. Okay. Did they test the drain pipes for traces of acid? You mean in the home? No, they didn't because they saw him remove something from the house in coolers. He took his 4-year-old son on a 12-hour day trip, saying he was giving her time to work in the bedroom locked up, not taking care of the girls. he said he put some coolers in the back of the car because they could see, like, he backed up the car to the, but they couldn't see what he put in there. And they said it was him. There was very good cameras and audio from the house. And then he took off for 12 hours, crazy cat, with the son. And when he was in when he, and we're talking about Larry Millette here, I believe that is with this because we just ended that conversation. Larry Millette stated that he took his son to the beach, but when he was in the in interview with the detective, he said one name of a beach, and on the map he pointed to another one, and he became an instant suspect. But they have not recovered the body, and they have gone over everywhere, searched everywhere on his 12-hour where he said he went, but who knows where he went. And he did have his phone in airplane mode. He turned off the tracking on his phone during that time, which was also very unusual. And they proved that with the text messages and with the phone records, that that was an extremely unusual thing for him to do. Also called out of work, had his boss looking for him. He was acting really weird. They had a lot of circumstantial evidence against him, but they didn't test the pipes for acid that I saw. But maybe that'll come up in the trial. I don't know. I don't know. It didn't come up in pretrial. Okay. Yeah, I know he was a big part of the original, and Netflix might look, maybe. Let me know if they do, you know? Hmm. It would be something if they just say he's serving jail time, but I bet you he'd get sued by them. I mean, they would get sued by him. Okay. All right. Okay, so there we solved that. Okay, so now the next one. Let me bring up our next friend. I say friend in a very sarcastic way. Yeah, Brilliant, I think you're right. I think the PR team, if I was the PR team, would be steering clear from him, especially the way they're handling the trial. I definitely would. It's not the kind of thing you want to be associated with. You don't want to go pro or con. You just want to back away. And hey, Sean, how you doing? It's good to see you here. It is. And one last thing from Crazy Cat on Millette. That's my theory. When someone just disappears and no evidence of a body removal, they must have melted the body with the acid in the bathtub, maybe. Hey, I covered a case in Australia with a gentleman brought somebody over, married her, and then they got into a fight. And he chopped her up and was going to use acid to dispose of her in the bathtub. That was just last year. I'll have to find you that video, Crazy Cat. I also covered the acid bath killer in England. He wasn't so good. Like, he dumped the stuff out and there was like pieces that people found. It really wasn't. Well, he tried. He had a vat of acid that he dumped them in. Yes. So that's a good theory for disposal that you have there. It's used a lot, actually, that I'm familiar with, unfortunately. Uh, y- y'all know I read too much about murder to know all of that. Anyway, we're on to Lori Vallow, the other half of the Vallow Daybell case. Okay, you know that she's up on charges with of conspiracy to commit murder for the missing children of hers, Ty Lee and JJ. Okay, and she, of all things, you're not going to guess what Lori Vallow did. Well, if you follow the news, you might, because some of you know all about this, right? I know, Mrs. Cassandra, but when it's like this, if I'm going to cover anything with children and victims of people who have children in these kind of cases, you're going to see the victims too. We're not going to forget about them while we talk about the cases, because remember, justice is for the victims. Okay. And also, justice is for the accused to either prove guilt or not prove. Justice needs to be served. It's for everyone, but we can't forget the other side. We cannot forget the crime. We cannot forget the families that are left behind. And it's just a little thing that I can do that just helps keep me balanced a little bit about it. I don't like to cover cases that have children. But this one with Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, the legal shenanigans that have gone on in this case are like, whoop, they will pull anything. Lori herself has gone through several competency hearings, okay? And you're not going to believe what she did now. Anybody want to take a guess? Anyone to take a guess about what Lori might have done? Her trial's coming up soon, right? And we know Chad Daybell from previously, if you've been here, we've been covering it. He wanted to sever the cases because he wants to wait longer to go to trial. He says he and his lawyer aren't ready. It's a capital case, the death penalty. They don't want to go forward with. They need time to prepare because it's so astronomical. Nope, Grace, she didn't ask to represent herself, but that would have been a good one, right? That would have been a good one. Inconclusive. Nope. I'm going to read it to you. Okay. I'm going to bring this down. It's very short. I promise I'm not going to bore you terribly, but you're not going to believe this. Okay. The attorneys for Lori Vallow Daybell have filed with the state of Ohio a motion to dismiss for lack of a speedy trial. I kid you not. Comes now the defendant through her attorneys and pursuant to the Constitution rather of the United States, Amendment 6, the Constitution of the State of Idaho, Article 1, Section 13, and Idaho Code 19-3501, moves the court to dismiss this case as the government has violated her right to a speedy trial. I know y'all are flipping, right? I was flipping. This is why we did tonight. Okay. The accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy trial. Constitution of the United States, Amendment 6. The accused shall have a right to a speedy trial. Constitution of the State of Idaho, Article 1, Section 13. Since the term speedy trial does not specify the length of time required to bring an accused to trial, federal law enacted a timeline for someone charged with a federal crime, and each state in the union enacted laws to define what it means in their respective state. The Idaho legislature defined speedy trial in Idaho Code 193501 as follows. The court, unless good cause to the contrary is shown, insert multiple reasons here why Lori didn't come, must order the prosecution or indictment to be dismissed in the following case. If a defendant whose trial has not been postponed upon his application is not brought to the trial within 6 months from the date that the defendant was arraigned before the court in which the indictment is found. In State versus Clark, the Idaho Supreme Court took up the speedy trial issue and the determination of good cause. And I quote, upon careful consideration of the relevant authorities, we believe that a thorough analysis of the reasons for the delay represent the soundest method for determining what constitutes good cause. We therefore conclude that good cause means that there is a substantial reason that rises to the level of a legal excuse for the delay. Because there is not a fixed rule for determining good cause for the delay of a trial, the matter is initially left to the discretion of the trial court. The good cause determination may take into account the factors listed in Baker versus Wingo. The Barker factors, however, considered only as surrounding circumstances are important, if at all, only insofar as they bear on the sufficiency of the reason itself, the shortness of the period, the failure of the defendant to demand a speedy trial, and the absence of prejudice are legitimate considerations only insofar as they affect the strength of the reason for delay. This reason means that to whatever extent the delay has been a short one, or the defendant has not demanded a speedy trial, or is not prejudiced, a weaker reason will constitute good cause. On the other hand, if the delay has been a long one, or if the defendant has demanded a speedy trial, or is prejudiced, a stronger reason is necessary to constitute good cause. Oh, Thus, the ultimate question on whether legal excuse has been shown is a matter for judicial determination upon the facts and circumstances of each case. A trial judge does not have unbridled discretion to find good cause. However, and on appeal, we will independently review the lower court's decision. Citations omitted. The following is the timeline in the case against Lori Vallow Daybell. February 20th of 2020, she was arrested in Hawaii on $5 million bond. Madison County and Fremont County, those are the cases against her. May 25th of 2021, indictment from grand jury, Fremont County. Previously, 2 cases dismissed, no bond. April 19th of 2022, arraignment on indictment. October 11th of 2022, first trial setting on indictment, government requested more time. January 9th, 2023, second trial setting on indictment. April 3rd, 2023, third trial setting on indictment. She is scheduled to go to trial on April 3rd of 2023. Did you notice the absence of the gaps in there where competency, we had to stay the trials while she went through competency hearings? Did you notice the lack of mention of the pandemic, which stayed the court, and the people that could evaluate her for competency while she was in the mental facility awaiting clearing, and that they did review it 3 times while she was in there? I don't see those dates in there as a reason as to why. I wonder how that is. Am I being snarky enough? Oh, gosh. I'm sorry. This cracks me up. This filing took some chutzpah, like fierce chutzpah. Okay. I can't wait for the response. As a matter of fact, we will have a special edition. I don't care what time it is when I find that response. I can't wait. It should be brimstone, and fireworks, but we'll see. We'll see, because this is just blowing me away. He's saying that 1,169 days in jail without a trial on any of the 3 cases. Number one, she wasn't in jail the whole time. She was on bond, but she was in a facility because she was unwell and couldn't face trial. In Idaho, you don't have an insufficient capacity defense. You await until you can face trial. Those are the rules in Idaho. That's how it goes. This is like catch and catch Ken. This is just amazing. Okay, Mrs. Cassandra, if it's the crack of dawn, I will be up. I'm usually up anyway, but yeah, okay, I will. I'm telling you, when this filing comes back from the state, I will do the update. Absolutely, first thing. The first trial setting in this instance case was October 11th of 2022. Since that was within 6 months of April 19th, 2022, the government then asked for more time, and the court granted the request and set trial for January 9th of 2023. This violated her right to a speedy trial. Lori Vallow Daybell's defense team questioned her competence to stand trial, and the court told the case from October 6th of 2022 to November 15th of 2022. A 40-day delay caused by the competency review still doesn't justify a trial setting 3 years after her arrest and almost 1 year after her arraignment. This was the second competency, not the first. Okay. The government still has an obligation to bring her to a speedy trial, which complies with the constitutions in the Idaho Code. Maybe so, but this is ridiculous. I don't know how this is going to fly. I can't wait to see the stuff flying back and forth on this one. From her arrest on February 20th of 2020 until the current trial setting on April 3rd of 2023 is 1,169 days without a trial in any of the 3 cases. From her arraignment in this case on April 19, 2022 until the current trial setting on April 3rd, 2023 is 349 days. Obviously more than the statutory 6-month time limit. Her constitutional rights, including her right to be presumed innocent and her right to a speedy trial, have been ignored by the government. No, they haven't, and I'll tell you why after the next two paragraphs. It is undisputed that Lori Vallow Daybell has demanded her speedy trial and has never waived her constitutional rights. That's true. They asked her. She didn't. She is prejudiced every day since she's in jail and unable to post a bond. The court has repeatedly reminded the government that it will respect her constitutional right to a speedy trial. The government cannot show good cause to bring Lori Vallow Daybell to trial over 3 years from her arrest and almost 1 year from her arraignment. This court should find that the constitutional rights. This case should be dismissed by her attorneys from Jim Archibald and John Thomas. Ugh. Well, that was fun. Yes. I know. You can't believe it, right? I just cannot absolutely believe it. I I just do not believe it. Okay. So basically, the next trial date for her is nope, that's Kohberger, is April 3rd. Okay. She's supposed to go to trial on April 3rd. All right. We know that this is a joint case. You know what? That paper alone, if she wasn't a co-defendant in a joint case with Chad Daybell, might hold some water. But Chad Daybell also has rights, and this case has never been severed. And Chad Daybell asked for time for preparation. And it is the court's discretion to weigh these things out. And while Lori had issues of competency and being able to meet with her lawyer and all of these other things, Chad Daybell also had issues with his lawyer in trying to deal and get the information and the delays from Lori Vallow. They weren't able to get together to do a defense. They just recently actually petitioned the court to actually meet face to face, and that came from Lori Vallow's side. I smell snake. I don't know what's going on here, but I have to say, you can't dismiss one party and not the other. They have to weigh out both parties, and they're forgetting about the pandemic, and I'm sure that they did the proper thing, writing why things were delayed, okay, and documenting that. We all saw the headlines and read the briefs here on this channel. You could check my playlist for true crime, just search Vallow, to where she needed to go for a competency just recently. The delays are not delays that the court just automatically wanted to do. They have to weigh the needs of both defendants, and Chad Daybell has rights also. I can't wait. I don't know what's going to happen here. I just know it's going to be fireworks. I don't know if they would grant it, or maybe they'll just grant a separation. And then what's going to happen is the finger pointing between the two of them is going to make it very messy and very costly for the state. And it would be better to try that together. Well, to say that you're inconvenienced about the amount of time in jail when you wouldn't come back from Hawaii when your children were missing, well, that takes some chutzpah. Brass ones. Yeah. She's not looking good here. Not to me, anyway. But, hey, Mippy, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. But, anyway. Hi, King. Hi, T. King. Hey, Tammy. Oh. Anyway, anybody as livid as I am about that? I mean, I just... I seriously just think that took real brass ones. I mean, come on. Really, seriously. I mean, come on. And she looks about it. Yeah. Mippin Americans are crazy. Did you just hear what I said she did? She's asking for the whole case to be dropped because she's been in jail too long without a trial. Yeah. That's what she's saying. Forgetting all about her co-defendant over there, that has rights too, and the discretion, and those 2 mental competency hearings she had to go through. It's like she's forgetting about all of that. Yeah. I don't know if they're proving she's crazy. This is actually quite clever because there is actual precedence for it. Unfortunately, those rules are there. Okay, but she's forgetting all of the reasons why things got delayed, and it also is judiciary. They got to come up with good cause. This may end up going to the Supreme Court. Just, I'm like, wow. Yeah, I know, right? Always like I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, I could not believe it when I read about her new reasoning. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, she's got that Karen expression. This is Ed Pose down perfect. She does. She doesn't have the haircut, but the attitude is there. This one's entitled, Tony. Let me tell you. Like she's definitely a piece of work. Definitely. Yep. All right. So y'all ready to move on? Like I'm done with her. I'm done with her for the night. We just put her away. I will on what I will drop though is for those of you that are real buffs. Here's the Idaho government site, which both the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, and the Kohberger case are listed free. All the documents right there because they're high profile cases and they have a transparency law there that they went with. So you see that link right there? That's going to get you to all these glorious little tidbits if you like to read that kind of stuff all here. Okay, so but wow. Wow. She really takes the cake. But anyway, that's going to be in Fremont County for Vallow there and Chad Daybell. And oh, I love Judge. I know everybody kind of doesn't like Judge Boyce because he wouldn't let cameras in there, and this is such a hot case and all. But he's really tried to protect her rights. Like when she was looking real crazy to everybody and the media was going off about it, he shut everything down to protect her to get a fair trial and everything. I wonder how he's going to feel about this. Hmm, that's I'm one like I could just imagine. I can just imagine. And remember, both of these parties, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, not only they indicated in the conspiracy to commit murder for both Ty Lee and JJ, but they both have spouses who died. Tammy Daybell and Charles Vallow, all both did. Now Charles Vallow, it said that her brother um actually killed him and then her brother died afterwards of natural causes, and that is the case there, but she's still linked as a accomplice or conspirator in that case. Okay, and Chad Daybell is also accused of the demise of his wife Tammy Daybell, and she's kind of part of that too. It's not good. It's just not a good that those two getting together was not a good thing for anybody who knew them. And this has been going on. They were indicted of May of 2021. Now it should be noted before I go over, Chad Daybell, the other party, never waived his right to a speedy trial. He waived his right to a speedy trial. He wanted more time. Lori was going through competency hearings. He needed a really good lawyer. He wanted the best thing. He knew time was on his side to prepare the best defense. Don't forget, this is a very high penalty case. This is a death penalty case. It's not like the Murdaugh trial where they took that off the plate or off the thing. This one is okay, and they can't use insanity as a defense, even though, gosh, she just comes off as like woo, like. But they're not going to be able to use it. They can use it as extenuating circumstances, and it can help with things like sentencing and where people go and what. But it can't be a defense for the crime. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, there's no way to do that. Oh, it had been rescheduled several times based on Daybell's requests. So we'll see how this is going to go. All right. Let's move on to the last one. He's also in Idaho, and you're familiar with this one. I don't have a lot on this, but on Kohberger, you know that the search warrant was released and they were putting out all that evidence and everything there. There's a lot of speculation going back and forth about the defense attorney what represented one of the victim's mothers at one time for something, but is now defending uh Bryan Kohberger. In the defense attorney's defense, that sounds funny, but they are assigned by the court. He's using a public defender. Okay. It's not like she dropped the woman to do the case. She's been court assigned. She needs to do it. She has to get rid of the she has to get rid of the I want to say association, but it's not conflict of interest. Okay, sorry. It's been a long day. The conflict of interest because you don't want it used against either party in the future for anything. She's trying to do the right thing, but the media, of course, is blowing this up into like a whole big shenanigans kind of thing. That is really not. That is standard. I mean, that's kind of when you look at it. Am I looking at it wrong? To me, it sounds like that's the right thing to do. And why are they making such a big deal about it? Is it because he's the accused and the other party is the mother of a victim? I get that there's sympathy there. No, I mean I got great sympathy for the everyone associated with the victims. They were young. They had a whole life ahead of them. This should have never happened. Everybody's life is affected about it, but so is his. And in our country, in our legal system, he deserves the best defense he can get because he's going to have the penalty of death over his head too. Okay. And we need to know it's the right person that we have. We need to know, as they say, without a shadow of a doubt, he is the guilty party. Okay. He deserves a good defense. So, mm, I'll tell you. Mm, I don't know. It gets emotion. You see, sometimes with these cases, you're going to see emotion in the media reporting so much more than the facts. And it gets you. It really gets you. I mean, who doesn't feel for the victims and their families and all? Of course we do. Of course everybody does. But to weaponize that as if Brian or his attorney are actually doing something wrong here, that might be going a little bit too far. Don't you think? Like, he deserves a defense. And she was assigned by the court. They come up with all this stuff. Well, she could legally wiggle her way out of it, this, that, and the other thing. Yes, she could. But when you weigh like the needs on what the mother's charges were and what she was going through and everything, mm, it should be okay. I mean, the judge is aware of it now, and we're going to see what happens. But anyway, in this case, for Kohberger, okay, um, I do have to release for you the court notes from when he was last there, which I will give you that right here in the chat for those of you that are interested. But as you know, he pled not guilty. He pled that he was not he waived his right for a speedy trial. His preliminary hearing is going to be at the end of June. Okay. And a preliminary hearing, by the way, here are the scheduled dates of that. That's going to start on June 26th, and it's scheduled to go for a week, the full week, 5 days. Okay. The judge is Megan Marshall. Okay. And it's going to be a preliminary hearing, and that's what sets the evidence for. That is just like we went through with Larry Millette, and we went through the preliminary hearing where the prosecution puts out the case to the judge enough information to say that he should actually face murder charges and there should be a murder trial and that the county should pay for a trial to prosecute this person. That's the process. Okay. So that hearing, the preliminary hearing, day 1 through 5, it starts on June 26th and ends on June 30th. Okay. And you're gonna hear things about bond and this and evidence and all kinds of motions like we did with the other hearing with Larry Millette. And we're gonna follow it through to see if more hearings are scheduled or if they just go right through for trial. Okay. Well, on that, um there's also for you all is the state's response to the discovery. Okay. And I don't know why they have an issue with this, but basically the state has complied with it. And here's the thing, okay? That it shouldn't be an issue because I mean, we have the warrant, we have everything undone. Here's what Bryan Kohberger's defense received hundreds of documents from the prosecutors already. Okay, they've just put out news articles on this all over the place. You know, the Loudoun County prosecutors turned over hundreds of files over to Bryan Kohberger's defense team this week. And the discovery disclosures include nearly 1,000 pages of documents, almost twice as many images and a video. The evidence has not yet been made public. The public and the court have issued a gag order on the case, barring attorneys from both sides, investigators, and lawyers for witnesses, victims, and their families from discussing this case. Kohberger is being held without bail on 4 counts of first-degree murder and a felony burglary charge after allegedly entering an off-campus house at 4 a.m. On November 13th and attacking the 4 University Idaho students inside. Okay. And he could face the death penalty if convicted. Kohberger's attorney, Courtenay County Public Defender Ann Taylor, filed discovery on January 10th, and she's already received everything. And the court notified the court of their response 13 days later, and that's the document I put on there. It tells you what they sent to them. Okay. We know the victims' names are Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, 21, their 20-year-old housemate, Zana Conodal, and her boyfriend, Ethan Chapman, who's also 20. He lived in a nearby house. The three of them lived with two other girls who were all renting this off-campus house to attend the university. Okay. Chapman often spent the night there with Zana. They'd been going out for quite a while. All four had suffered multiple stab wounds, according to the county coroner office, from a report that was filed by Kathy Mabbitt, who said at least some of the victims may have been sleeping at the start of the attack. There is not a lot of detail on autopsy or anything else. The only thing that we do know is that they found a K-bar sheath for a knife and that there was DNA on one of the clasps of it up near the top, and that was found at the scene, and that DNA found on the thumb snap helped lead them to Kohberger through a family stain through the garbage with his dad. And they alleged that he allegedly stalked the house at least 12 times before the slayings and returned to the home the morning after. That was all in the probable cause affidavit. The link I listed before, higher up in the chat for the Idaho website, will have all of those files. You will find the unsealed search warrant. You will find the probable cause affidavit, which is the statement from the investigators that were following him as to why they believe he committed the crime and should be arrested. It was what got him extradited from Pennsylvania. They did an arrest warrant. They sent it to Pennsylvania where he was at his parents' house, and they brought him back. They extradited him. They arrested him in Pennsylvania, extradited him back to Idaho. Once he was in Idaho, he faced arraignment. Okay. This suspect, Bryan Kohberger, has a PhD. He's a PhD of criminology student at Washington State University, which is only 10 miles away from the University of Idaho, where the students that were murdered attended. There's been a lot in the media about his criminology studies, him wanting to be a police officer or an investigator or a forensic person. He was arrested on December 30th. Okay. He did not fight extradition and he was awaiting his next court date, which is set for June 26th, as I said. Prosecutors could speed up the timelining by seeking a grand jury indictment instead of waiting until the preliminary hearing to prove probable cause. But we'll have to wait and hear about that. But that's one thing that could happen. Okay, but we'll have to see. Yup, Jin, cell phone pings. Put him in the area. Yes. Hi, Gavis. Nice to see you. But yeah, they do put him in the area. His van was spotted. I mean, not his van, his sedan, his Toyota, the white car. I'll just say the white car. Right now, the actual make and model is escaping me. But the white car, which was actually found out to be his through license plate, through him re-registering it because it expired, like within the time frame. It had only one plate on it at one time because it was registered in Pennsylvania, and then he had to register it for Washington, and because it had expired in the time. That all happened after the murder, after November 13th, like within days. Nothing suspicious there. His registration expired. He had to refile it, but they know it was him. They placed the pings of the towers of the cell phone into the same place that the vehicle is, and they also see him getting in and out of the vehicle at home and in Washington at his college there. They know that the vehicle belongs to him. He was pulled over. He showed registration and insurance and all that says that the vehicle is his. There was no doubt. They can then place that vehicle near the home, coming in and out of the neighborhood and places like that. What they don't have is a picture of him parked in the driveway. I'll tell you that. They don't have that. But they have enough getting him right there in the area. Jin's right. They definitely have him in the area consistently the day off. Okay. Thank you very much always. It's a Hyundai Elantra. Thank you. Now, see, I knew it was something like that. I knew it wasn't Toyota. I knew that. Okay. But yep, that's it. And that's my hour. Do you guys have any questions about Kohberger? But before we go, I will put the victims up because it's important to remember who we're talking about. I gave you their names. They were too young. We want to see justice. We want justice for them. We want justice and a proper trial in official, and let the media like stop with all of this craziness. Let the facts come out. I think it gets worse when they put a gag order on stuff because they're just running with any little thing. Do you know there was like 17 videos on a 5-minute clip that was the hearing that he had, just with that he wasn't going to get bail and he was being held over, and who his attorney was for the cuts that he had on his face and how he looked. 17, 18 different videos all going on, and they went on for hours. Like, I was amazed. Uh, that's just too much. That's just too much. I'm not going to do that. And I'm sorry. I just can't. It won't. It just won't. It's just, I want to wait until there's evidence to talk about. Everything that we've talked about, evidence, is exactly what they say they have. It comes right from the search warrants. It comes right from the affidavits of probable cause. It comes right from either the prosecutor, the defense, or the judge, or the investigators. Okay, I don't even like to use the statements of family or anyone else. Those are emotional parts of the evidence. That is like the reasons we want to see justice. I get that. But that's not the case. That's not the legal, like, that's not guilty or not guilty. We want to see this go through. This one has a lot of hooks. Okay, this one definitely has a lot of hooks. So everything that they're bringing in. And we'll talk more about that next time. But for now, unless there are any questions, I'm going to go through the chat really quick. Hi, Juju. Why did they say they caught him creeping around the place before? They found him at a donut shop. They've got pings from the towers. They also have some Instagram messages that I saw. I haven't seen them yet from the attorney, but it's like circulating around that he actually tried to contact one of the victims, but they never answered. It was one of, like, you ever get one of those people? I do, because I have Instagram to promote the channel. And often I'll get these accounts that just like show up in your DMs and they go, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh," or "Don't you look beautiful?" I'm like, "Yeah, my avatar. Yeah, my avatar looks great." But it's kind of funny for me, but like, these were like real faced people. It was a young girl, and he might have been doing something like that, but she never responded. The person, the student never responded back. And that's the contact they're talking about on Instagram. They were talking about perhaps something at a coffee shop, but I don't see anything. They're not having an easy time connecting him to them in a strong way. There's all kinds of currently rumor and speculation, because remember, there's a gag order. Okay. They did release the cell phone pings. That's all in the probable cause affidavit. So what Jin is saying about putting him in the area, about the cell phone pings, that's all listed fact, documented through how the whole process, they went into great detail on how they do this and who did it for them and how they do this all through the phone records and things like that and the tower pings and what they mean and how they triangulate them and all of that. Okay. Um, they say they have telephone pings in the area at least 12 times prior to the murder. Yes, they do, and and actually on site in the general area the next morning. My question about the pings is he lives so close to there. Yes, less than 10 miles. Now that is something for the defense, right, Juju? Because when we use, if there's, it depends on the amount of cell phones and the cross coverage of the cell phones and if everything was working properly at the time. That is something for the defense. I thought the same thing. He lives 10 miles. That's not far. Those darn cell phone pings will get them every time, just like another case going on right now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. There's quite a few cases that involves those cell phone pings. In the Millette case, it was because he turned his phone off so it wouldn't ping. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, in the Larry Millette case, the reason they were able to use that he turned that off is he searched it on his Google or whatever, in his browser, he searched whether they could use location if you turned your phone off. Yeah, it was in his search history. I suggest, like, if you plan on doing anything like that, you don't put it in your search history. Mm. Along with how to make her love me, this, that, and the other thing, like weird things. How long before certain stuff, like it was weird. Mm. His search, his search history was used against him. Phone pings can be traced to within 5 meters of its location. Yes, with the proper amount of towers. You're absolutely correct. As long as there's no cross towering stuff going on, perfection. They can get it down that close. I want to see how close they do too, Juju. I really do. I hear you, Gary's. I do feel I want to know about motive. I want to know why. There are some things that intrigue me. The fact that he knew so much about criminal law, that he was studying with some really good professors that were like quite interested in the subject. He had a desire for it. He wanted to be an investigator. He's educated. He's going for his PhD. Like he's already finished the first part. So like he already finished one semester of the criminal part and criminology. But I don't think it's morbid to want to know why, as long as we still honor that they should still be here, and we know that. And so wanting to know why helps us find something in it to put it to rest. And you know who needs to know why? The families. And that's why we want, we're fascinated with the motive and we want to know why and we want it all settled. We want to watch the case come to fruition and we want to know that we have the right person who is going to pay for the crime so that justice is served. We want to know that that killer is still out there. We don't want to think that, you know. So don't feel so hard on yourself. You're with a bunch of murder minions here. Absolutely. Let's see. Not real. Let me just say. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. There's a bunch. Okay. It's okay. Crazy Cat says it's done by triangulation between cell towers. It's how long inch pace to the cell tower. Returns to the cell phone pings are registered even if the network is down. The public isn't having an easy time, but I suspect we will be very surprised by what is presented in court. I think that that's a valid statement, Juju, because that usually is exactly what happens. We get surprised by what actually comes forward. Remember, there's a gag order here. We know nothing. We know very little in regard to the case. Okay. Um, I've watched a lot of cell phone pings, but won't the phone jump to the next tower or the other side of the tower, depending on how busy it is? It's a very complicated process, Juju, and I can't wait for the expert to explain it to us because from what we hear back and forth, it's like very convoluted. I realize they can literally track us to where I'm sitting right now, but are they going to go that deep on this case or use the usual pings? Not sure. There's a gag order. That's it. It will really depend on the type of service he has. 4 and 4G is limited to 4 miles. Older phones can go farther. Okay, there you go. See? So a lot of stuff comes into it. The type of phone, how many towers are active, whether they're busy, they're all working well, and how the process was handled, and which process they're using. If I pull up to a certain point on my driveway, GPS thinks I'm on the street behind my house. That happens to me. Okay. It is like that TV show, How to Get Away with Murder, Tony. That's a good show. And the Murdaugh one's on there too. Okay. I love Kathleen Zellner. I'm a huge fan. And I'm really with her on the Stephen Avery case, but that's something different. No. Jujubee, that's due to civilian GPS being limited to course acquisition. Crypto-enabled GPS can be accurate to the meter. I want to soak up all the chat's knowledge. That's great. I don't delete my chats, Juju. You got time. You can cut and paste that will with their permission. Y'all know if you type in there, it's forever, right? Like, unless you come and delete it yourselves. Like, I leave it there. So on that, I'm going to call it a night. It's been a long day. Some of you I will see tomorrow morning, 9:15, for further coverage of the murder trial, the Murdaugh murder trial, live coverage, 9:15 tomorrow, right here. Um, in the last message from Crazy Cat says, my thinking on the cell phone pings is the prosecution have that information and they're going to use it in the trial to bury him. They already did. Read that affidavit I dropped for you, like the probable cause affidavit. Go to idaho.gov. That probable cause affidavit laid out how they tracked him with the cell phones. There's good information in there, Juju. You're going to love it. Okay. On that, I'm going to take this down, leave you with my face, and say thank you very much for showing up tonight. And I'll see you guys all during the week. Oh, wait, there's a comic still up. Sorry, Juju. I got to get rid of you. Wait, you're gone. Sorry. Here we go. All right. Night all.